Anybody that knows me knows that I love Berserk. It's one of the best manga of all time, and it's for good reason. There are many reasons why people love Berserk, between the complex cast of characters, the beautiful artwork, or even the storytelling and the world building that Miura gives us. But one of the most underrated aspects of Berserk are some of the quotes that we can take away from this brilliant masterpiece of a story. These quotes are of paramount importance because they reinforce ideas that become prevalent within Berserk's series. Some quotes open the eyes of the reader and help them acknowledge a truth within our own world. One such quote comes from the Lost Children arc of Berserk, Guts simply stating that there is no paradise for you to escape to. But for every powerful and impactful quote delivered to us in this series, you also get a handful of goofy quotes, to put it nicely. Yeah, so some of these quotes can range from things like Corcus saying that he was the one who taught Guts how to use the sword, and calling him that. God, you're an asshole, Corcus. And we also get quotes like Jerome saying that Casca scared him so bad that his dick went limp. Alright guys, that is their words, not mine, don't sue me here. But if you guys were underwhelmed with those quotes, don't worry, I have saved the best, most meaningful and impactful quote for last. Take it away, Pippin. Yeah, so I think you get the point. Pippin, he doesn't say a lot. In fact, the guy says next to nothing. And it's owed in great part to Pippin's silent and stoic nature that it can be difficult to assess what type of a character he is. It's often that the reader has to speculate or interpret what exactly is going on in Pippin's head. But that is exactly what I hope to do today. I'm devoting this video towards Pippin and covering the life that he lived throughout the series. Because, in my opinion, Pippin is entirely slept on. He was one of the most badass members of the Band of the Hawk and an extraordinary fighter. And his presence in Berserk is so missed. But without any further delay, let's start to discuss Pippin, the backbone of the Band of the Hawk. While Pippin might not say a lot throughout Berserk's series, he still makes his presence felt. Pick any scene that Pippin is in, and you can easily tell him apart from the rest of the crowd. Part of the reason being for this, because if you haven't noticed, Pippin is fucking huge. I mean, Jesus Christ, his whole arm is the size of Rickard's body. Bro did not skip second breakfast. But honestly, the guy is an absolute unit. And if I had to choose a member out of the OG Band of the Hawk to go into combat with, I'm sorry, Guts, but I'm gonna choose Pippin every single time. I mean, let's be real, the guy is built like a brick shithouse and he carries around a mace the size of a tree trunk. But now, I'd like to talk about Pippin's character, because his lack of dialogue aside, there is still a lot to discuss here. To start off, how did Pippin come to join the Band of the Hawk, and how did he end up meeting Griffith? Well, it's revealed in the chapter, Flower of the Stone Castle, that before Pippin joined the Band of the Hawk, he used to work in a mine. But of course, this would all change for Pippin upon meeting Griffith. It's my personal belief that Pippin chose to follow Griffith for the same reasons as Corcus, Judo, Rickard, and so many others. In the eyes of these men, Griffith represented something special. He was an anomaly within the world. In Pippin's eyes, Griffith was an inspirational leader, a tactical genius, and the personification of ambition. And Griffith in turn likely saw much promise in Pippin, as, let's be real, the guy's a powerhouse. Also, side note, but I love this scene in the manga when they're trying to rescue Griffith, and Pippin is internally questioning whether or not his swole ass is even gonna fit into the hole. But getting back on track, we know that Pippin was one of the earliest members to join the Band of the Hawk. This is revealed to us in the chapter Casca, Part 2. It's here in this chapter that we see a young Pippin serving Griffith alongside Corcus and Judo. And it's evident from Corcus's dialogue that the Band of the Hawk is in its early formative years, which shows that Pippin was one of its first members. These early chapters unveil a wealth of information about Pippin, and if anything, I think it shows the extent of his loyalty towards Griffith. Pippin willingly decided to follow Griffith long before Griffith had an army of his own, and long before Griffith had any status within the Kingdom of Midland. And this is just more character evidence to highlight how devoted and loyal Pippin was towards Griffith. But now, it's time to talk about Pippin's first appearance, because it really does speak volumes about this character and the heart behind this man. Pippin's first appearance comes at the beginning of the Golden Age arc, where he immediately takes a liking towards Guts. And you have to remember, this was Guts at the beginning of the Golden Age arc. At this point in time, Guts was more of a brooding asshole than a sparkling conversationalist. He didn't like to be touched and was pretty detached from all of society. And despite all of this, Pippin never judged Guts for a second and really grew to like the guy. And even when people like Corcus would try to shit-talk Guts, Pippin didn't even acknowledge it. The guy was just a real one, honestly. I mean, this scene really just says it all.
He cut Earl's arm off and sent Dan to his grave. The bastard killed our comrades. I can't pretend that never happened. Isn't that right, Pippin?
But in all seriousness, I think that scene speaks for itself and really goes to demonstrate Pippin's true character. But in my opinion, Pippin's best scene by far comes after Guts' first night working with the Band of the Hawk. After a successful raid on an enemy castle, Guts secludes himself from the rest of the Hawks, choosing instead to isolate himself on top of the castle. This is of course until Guts is approached by Judo, Rickert, and Pippin. The three proceed to tell Guts that the celebration they're having down below is in honor of him. Of course, Guts wants no part of this, and what happens next, well, the scene just speaks for itself.
What are you doing? Oh, put me down!
Let's go.
Put me down now, you thick-headed bastard!
I am Pippin.
Don't ever...
Now drink.
Okay, so before I say anything, let me just say this. Pippin is a fucking beast. What a champion. So Pippin manhandles Guts, throws him over his shoulder like a rag doll, takes a blow off the chin like nothing, and then forces Guts to have a beer with the boys. Like, could you get any more real than this? And I'll admit, I was memeing on the guy earlier because, you know, let's be real, Pippin doesn't say a lot, but the small amount of dialogue he has in this scene, well, I fucking love it, honestly, it's so good. And we can't underplay the importance of this scene, because for the first time in Guts' life, he's surrounded by people who genuinely care about him. But in addition to this scene also gives us character development between Guts and Pippin's relationship. This scene makes it clear that Guts doesn't want Pippin or anybody else touching him. But after spending years with the Band of the Hawk, Guts begins to respect and trust Pippin, and even allows Pippin to help him after he's been wounded by Nosferatu Zod. It's evident that Guts and Pippin really did share a tight-knit bond between them, and the two were easily the strongest members of the Band of the Hawk. And we get to see this strength on full display in Chapter 3, titled Devil Dogs. In this chapter, the Band of the Hawk has just freed Griffith from Midland Stronghold, and they're being chased by Wylad and his gang of sex perverts. And it's in this very chapter that we're treated to the glorious Band of the Hawk power tag. A beautiful double-page spread of Guts and Pippin absolutely cleaning house. Believe me, you do not want to be on the opposite side of Pippin's mace. I mean, just ask Wild, the man had to duck out of the way before he took an ass whooping. But seriously, Pippin had great fighting prowess and was extremely alert when he was on the battlefield. The guy was able to detect arrows coming from miles away before they were even fired. And from his mining experience, Pippin was even able to tell that an explosion was going to take place before it happened. And it's solely due to these fighting abilities that I call Pippin the backbone of the Band of the Hawk. I mean, come on now, the guy makes Guts look like a twig in comparison. Also, fuck you, Griffith, you don't deserve to be in this photo. Get your filthy hands off Guts and Casca. Wait, hang on, I gotta edit it really quick. Don't worry, guys, I'll fix this. Okay, almost got it, and perfect. Looking good. But getting back to Pippin, for all the strength that this mountain of a man possessed, ultimately in the end, it fell short. It's time we discuss the last chapter of Pippin's life, and his final moments in the Band of the Hawk. Pippin loyally served Griffith for many years and fought in numerous war campaigns, all for Griffith's sake. So, just to name a few, Pippin had to fight against the Tudor Empire for many years, and after the war with the Tudor Empire ended, Pippin had to fight against the entirety of the Midland army when the Band of the Hawk got ambushed, and at this point the Band of the Hawk were chased off by bandits where they had to live in the woods and fight for their lives daily. And during this time, Pippin and the rest of the Hawks make a plan to rescue Griffith. So, in order to rescue Griffith, Pippin had to backtrack through the sewers, carry Griffith's skinny ass the entire way, fight the Baki Raka, and then get chased by Wylad and his gang of sex perverts. So, if it isn't clear from all of that, then I'll make it even more obvious and just say it. Pippin has done a shit ton for Griffith. And it's so obvious through all of these actions alone that Pippin cared for Griffith greatly. And when Pippin finds out that Griffith is no longer capable of leading the Band of the Hawk, well, the big man is brought to the brink of tears. But while Pippin is holding back tears, Griffith is shedding tears over the prospect of his lost dream. And these blood-soaked tears open up a portal to the threshold of the God Hand. And it's at this point that Griffith is offered the chance to rekindle his dream in exchange for his own flesh and blood, the lives of the Band of the Hawk. And we all know what happens next. With these spoken words, the threads of causality are bound in place, leaving Pippin and the rest of the Band of the Hawk in a complete state of despair. But while most of the Band of the Hawk are justifiably shitting their pants, Pippin makes the most out of his last moments. Pippin steps in front of Casca, saving her life, and with every bit of strength he can muster, he swings his mace at an apostle at full strength and puts a hole on its head. Now, it's at this point that Pippin looks back at Judo and Casca for what will be his last time. They exchange a somber glance, and the expressions on their faces just say it all. Pippin knows what he has to do at this point. Judo, hoping to help his friend one last time, throws a knife at the apostle, but this only gives Pippin a moment of reprieve. Despite knowing full well that he's going to die, Pippin grits his teeth, screams one final time, and charges at a group of apostles, buying Judo and Casca the time they need to escape. Unfortunately, it's here that Pippin becomes surrounded by a group of apostles, and inevitably he's overwhelmed. But in his last moments, Pippin showed his true strength, and I don't just mean physically. He has strength of heart, as he sacrificed himself in hopes of giving Judo and Casca the chance to escape and live another day. And I wish I could tell you that at this point, this is where Pippin's suffering ends, but unfortunately, we see a whole lot more of Pippin than we were expecting to. Pippin's body is violently ripped asunder, all while Guts is forced to watch in horror and agony. But I'd like to point out that even in death, Pippin still is maintaining a tight hold of his war club, which really shows his strength, and proves, if nothing else, that he was a threat to be reckoned with, even during the eclipse. So it's time we ask the question, what is Pippin's purpose? I mean, sure, we've established that Pippin's one of the strongest members in the Band of the Hawk, and he was one of Griffith's most loyal followers, but is that all there really is to him? And to be honest with you guys, before I started doing research on the character, I really thought that Pippin was more of a blank slate, you know, kind of just like your stereotypical anime powerhouse type character. And I'm really glad to say that I was wrong, and this next fact about Pippin really hit home for me. When I was doing some digging on Pippin, I uncovered an old interview that was published in September of 2000. And this interview was with none other than the late, legendary Kentaro Miura himself. It's revealed in this interview that the members of the Band of the Hawk, excluding Griffith, Guts, and Casca, are based off Miura's own friend group. And as it turns out, Miura based Pippin off of himself. And for me anyway, learning this was pretty crazy, because I had no idea that Miura created Pippin as a character to represent himself within his own series. Now that I know a part of what Pippin's supposed to represent, I appreciate his character so much more. But in closing, I think it's pretty evident that Pippin is a static character. He doesn't change a ton throughout Berserk's run-through. Yet despite this, Pippin gives us some great moments in Berserk's early serialization, and I'm all here for it. But what I think represents Pippin the best comes from the chapter Back Alley Boy. It's here in this chapter that we see Griffith's dream, and in this dream, Griffith is married to Casca, he has a son named Guts, and a dog named Pippin. Now, obviously this is subjective, but my perception of this scene involves the dog being symbolic of Pippin's character traits. Dogs are always silent, loyal, and strong, just like Pippin. And at the end of the day, that's just what Pippin was. He was the backbone of the Band of the Hawk, and a reliable friend. But you know what's not reliable is the YouTube algorithm, so if you guys could comment down below your opinions on Pippin, maybe like or subscribe to the channel, it would be much appreciated, as it really does help me out. And of course, definitely let me know your thoughts on Pippin in the comment section below. But really guys, I appreciate you for watching if you made it to the end, and seriously, appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.